All right. Are we ready, Brian?
Oh yeah, we ready to chat.
And we're ready to chat. So, first of all, Brian, welcome to our show. It is a pleasure to have you here. I remember the last time we were talking about the single that you came out with. It was a nice single, and I really pushed that single for you. I don't know if you had any results, but I did my job. I did my work. So, but today we're going to talk almost about the same issues that we spoke about the last time. So I know you African American, and you have another single maybe that's gonna part of an album. So you have another song that you wrote. If you, I think you told me
hmm
about that. It is about freedom, right?
Yes, my wife and I just put out a debut video today. It's called Freedom March. If you go to my page and follow me on Facebook, you go to Brian Brian C period Ingram Ingram. I'm on Facebook, and that's in Powder Springs, Georgia. We just did a debut release video to Freedom March is the name of the song. If you go on Spotify or any digital spots, you can pick the song up. The song is called Freedom March, and that's by Mr. B and K Note. That's spelled Mistah hyphen B and K Note. That's K hyphen Note, and that's Freedom March is the name of the song.
Okay, so maybe not maybe we will have time to talk about Freedom March, but for the time being, let's talk about the situation that is going on right now in the United States. We have manifestations all over the world, all over and around the world as well, and because
Uh huh.
everybody is really disgusted, I would put it, if I can put it that way, from seeing the video of George Floyd on the floor with someone having his knees on his neck until he died for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It is really crazy. So the last time on my show we spoke about the racism situation in the United States. And we even spoke about Martin Luther King. You remember we spoke about the areas that carries the name of Martin Luther King, and it is I don't know. So what is your take about this? The video that came out
Hmm.
showing George Floyd on the floor.
Yeah. What I found interesting is that, and I'm just gonna have to be, I'm gonna be brutally honest. Um, I wasn't myself personally. I wasn't shocked. Okay, and the reason I say that is because I was just as disturbed when I um, when Philando Castillo was killed and murdered by police brutality. Brutality. Police brutality. I'm having some speaking problems right now. I was
It's
just
good.
as
Uh huh.
disturbed. You there? I was just as disturbed when I saw Eric Gardner being um, killed by police officers. I was just as disturbed with Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Brianna. I can go on and on with the list of African Americans that life has been taken by police brutality. I think what makes this case with George Floyd so horrible, and I'm equally disturbed the same way I was disturbed and frustrated with all of the other victims of police brutality here in America. I was equally disturbed. But what happened, what made this case different is what God has done. He has still America. And what I mean with this COVID-19, everyone had to slow down. When water is being moved, you cannot see your reflection. When you are still in still water, you can see your reflection. So when the nation is still, now everybody can see the ugliness because we have been still. And with this case, it was the most visually, it was the most horrible because there is no wiggle room to get out of it. With other cases, with Zimmerman and Trayvon, the defense argued that Trayvon was the aggressor. With Philando Castillo, they argued that maybe he pulled the gun, even though the officer said, even though the officer asked for registration, even though the officer asked for registration, Philando went to give him the registration so the defense can argue, hey, the officer was scared. But with George Floyd, what made this so horrible is that there is no way for the defense to wiggle out of this. You have a black man that was not resisting arrest, that was placed on the ground in such a horrible, horrible position. And he was murdered. It was a modern day lynching right on television. There is no wiggling out of it. It was just horrible policing, even from the EMTs that arrived. There is no way to wiggle out of this. So the reason the outrage is so huge in America right now and across the world is because this was seen in broad daylight, and there is no way to wiggle and give excuses from the defense perspective of why those officers would have put, of why those officers had him in that position. It was a modern day lynching.
So, if I'm trying to see the what we see out there, the all the protestations, people rallies, marching, all the marching, and mostly in those marches, it's when I say mostly, it's a lot of white people in there. Do you think it's
Hmm.
because of the way the videos was done, and the way it was done, the way the police officer put his knees on this guy neck, George Floyd. Sorry to say, just this guy, George Floyd. You think it's because of that we have this all these white people out there also marching?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason. That's one layer of it because I was down at the Capitol in Atlanta for the march, but of course I was with my family, so we left before all of the any rioting and looting started. And I did see a very large segment of young white people, a lot of millennials. And I'll say this, that they are not, they're a different group. They are very aggressive. They are very assertive. I'm not condoning um, destroying property, but I think part of it is the video. But I think in America, what we have done is we have suppressed these issues instead of dealing with the issues. And if you suppress something, that means it's not gone. So what it shows is that we need national police reform. We need people to write their congressmen and the representatives. We need legislation that's going to challenge the biases in our criminal justice system. But to answer your question, I think it's partly because of how horrible this event was with George Floyd. But I think also that even with Kaepernick kneeling, I think it was an awakening where people realized that, you know what, we see why Kaepernick was kneeling. It wasn't about the flag. It was about police brutality. It was about us needing police reform and changing the laws in this nation and getting legislation across so we can have a balanced justice system and we can unclog the arteries of justice here in America.
I heard the Mario Cuomo is the governor of New York State, right? And
Right,
I
right.
heard him talking about this. It's it's a problem that we've been having for a long time, and he even said he understands why the those people are doing what they are doing. He's not condoning, as you said, the looting and all the breaking stuff. But we have to understand the frustrations of the people out there who are doing that. And but as far as legislation, he said it's being. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to be different from your perspective?
Um, I those in the position. I think what's different is we have to hold law enforcement accountable, and I am very encouraged because we had an incident here in Atlanta, Georgia, that happened where some police officers pulled some students out of a car and they were very aggressive with them and they tased they were students, just graduates from Morehouse and Spelman. They tased this girl and and this young gentleman and snatched them out of the car. It was just so horrible how they handled them. But the mayor here in Atlanta, those officers were immediately terminated. Okay, so it was a response, and it's encouraging to know that these police officers that took that murdered George Floyd, that they have been charged. I think all four of them have been charged now, um, and I think it was triple the charge now. I think is a murder or double murder. I'm not sure, but they need to be charged to the full extent of the law. So there, with this case, because it was so horrible and because it was such a strong and aggressive response, it's pushing those in power to make change. I love Dr. Martin Luther King. He said the riot is the voice of the unheard. Okay,
Okay.
so not condoning looting, but what we can't do is we can't equate the looting and the rioting to that murder and that lynching that we saw on the street. We can't equate the two. Instead of focusing on the fire, we need to focus on the match that lit it. Okay?
Okay.
And that's going to come to people that are in positions of power. And again, we have to get out and vote. We have to write our congressmen, our senators, and we have to really push for national police reform.
But let me ask you in terms of racism. What happened with the two students in Atlanta and the mayor who is African American, right? Uh, she decided she's gonna put some sanctions against those cops, right? Do you think, in your honest opinion, do you think if it was a white mayor, would that happen? I'm sorry, I put you on the
Well,
spot a
no, no,
little
no, no,
bit
no,
like
no,
that.
no. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't want to. I wouldn't want to charge people. I don't want to judge people hard just because of their ethnicity, because we do have white allies in the struggle for justice.
Okay.
On my page, you'll see where I put out a video to white people who want to be involved and be an ally for justice here in America. And we got to make sure that we don't paint them with a broad stroke. And because even the mayor of Milwaukee, he is a white gentleman, and he immediately came out after this and he asked for a charge to be made against those officers. And this is what's interesting. He is the first Minneapolis. He is the first mayor in their history to ask for an immediate charge on one of his police officers, even without the investigation. He said, "I want that guy charged. I want that guy charged because that was murder, and you don't. That's like seeing someone get shot. Yes, there's going to be an investigation, but there needs to be an immediate charge. So I don't want to. I wouldn't say, oh, if it was a white mayor, they wouldn't have responded the same way. I'm just my desire is that regardless of race, that people will do the right thing and consider the interests of their neighbors, and see everyone as God sees us. We are all made in His image.
So,
So that would be my answer to that. I would hope, yes, our white brothers and sisters definitely need to be educated, though, you know.
okay,
But we do have white allies in the struggle for justice.
okay. It is 11:33. So I told you we have to put an end to this at like about 30 minutes, a 30 minutes interview. And I really appreciate your time here. You're taking out.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. And I want to just say also to all my Haitian brothers and sisters, I love you. Your history in Haiti is such an encouragement to me, and I'm praying for your nation. You have the history, your ancestors are my heroes, how they fought for freedom and they gained their freedom. And there has been so much discrimination against Haiti. But I just want to let all my Haitian brothers and sisters know that I love you. Stay in the struggle, stay in the fight. We're praying for you, and just thank you.
All right. Thank you as well on behalf of them and on behalf of myself as well. So, the other question I have for you, we know that this racism thing is really a big issue in the United States. And I even myself, had problem with that too as well when I first came here from Haiti. But since you've been here, you're an American, so you were born here, living here. Have you not only witnessed that yourself, and have you been a victim of racism in the United States?
I have. Have experienced it. Just being an African American male, I've experienced discrimination. I've been called the N word to my face.
Wow.
I have been in a grocery store and was basically told that I stole some cigarettes and I didn't steal them. It's just being an African American man in America, you're going to experience those things. Now, is there opportunity here in America? Yes. Can you progress here in America? Yes. But what we need reform in so many systems here, concerning, even here in Georgia, the issues with voter suppression, even with the COVID-19, the reason so many black people our community is experiencing this illness and it's taken out so many of us. A lot of that is connected to biases concerning health care. And even when it just comes down to buying a home, there are, studies that have shown that black people and brown people are discriminated against buying homes, buying cars. Mm-hmm. So although we can progress in this nation, and there has been progression, we have so much more land we need to move upon. We have a lot of moving to do. So to answer your question, yes, I've experienced it, and our issue is systems. We need these systems to be challenged, and we need legislation to change.
Now, you remember, I don't know if you remember when we were having that conversation about your singles justice. I mentioned to you in the areas where the Martin Luther King, they have the names of Martin Luther King in these areas, Martin Luther King, Eloy, and all these uh, freedom fighters. They have big churches and big prisons. You remember that? Okay. Now, what is the role of the church in this fight?
Wow. Um, the church needs to be mobile. Um, the church needs to. That is so. That's a. It's a lot to unload. But I think the church responsibility. If you look, when you go back to the struggle with Dr. Martin Luther King back to the 60s, the church was leading the charge. Okay. And now what has happened is the church has become, and I'm just speaking generally, the church has become stagnant. The church has become more introverted. And what the church needs to do is become mobile. We have to realize Dr. King was a pastor. He was a minister, and he was leading the charge. He was going to the White House. He was fighting for legislation. He led the Montgomery bus boycott. So the job of the church is to be involved in the community, um, to not only to take all of its resources to build the community. Because this is the thing, we have a systemic issue, but we also have a self-inflicted issue, okay, that we are responsible for building our communities. But I would say the church responsibility is to lead the charge and become mobile and be on the front line and fight for justice, because this is a biblical mandate. When you look at Isaiah 117, when you look at so many scriptures, it tells us to fight for those who are oppressed, fight for the widow, fight for the destitute. So I would say the job of the church is to bring its resources to the people, um, through educating the people. It's so much the church can do. That would have to be another conversation that I would have to unload. Um, but I think also part of this is something else, is that we have to be bridge builders. We have to be willing to go into the white communities, to the white ministries, because they have a lot of influence, you know, um, at the city hall as well. So we have to come together. We need white allies. Dr. King had white allies in the struggle for justice. So what the church need to do too is we don't just need to stay in the black community. The black church needs to begin to reach out to white ministries, Hispanic ministries. It should be a unified effort, and lead the charge. Right now, the church is not doing that, but that's what the church should be doing, is leading the charge for justice. The church should be, and which there is a march coming up. There is a march coming up where the church, where called One Race, where the church will be doing a march. So there is a segment of the church that's leading the charge for justice, but more need to get involved.
So we need more moral leaders.
More leaders in the church, and we need to stop being so. And this is what's interesting about COVID-19. I just really see it. This is just me. I see it as providence. It's interesting that the church has been closed, and rightfully so. And when I think about it, you know what? I see God is saying, the church is not a building. We are the church. The first church was mobile. It was moving. It was a movement. And then when you study church history with Catholicism and everything what happened to Constantine, the church became stagnant and it stopped moving. But the church is a movement, and it should always be moving. And guess what? Now that the doors are closed, you have no choice but to move.
That's it. That's it. Now, not too much, about 3 minutes. I want you to tell me a little bit more about Freedom of March. That's what you said. That's the name of the song.
Yeah, it's interesting because you asked that, and it's a good segue because Freedom March and song, it's all about challenging the church. That's what this song is doing. It's challenging. We're challenging leadership. We're challenging those in Washington. But most of the song, the essence of the song, we're saying, look, church, stop being divided, come together, and let's strategize so we can go and challenge those with a plan who are in a position of power to make change for the underserved communities. So that's what Freedom March is all about. And we are going to be participating in a march. It'll be a peaceful protest, a march, and it's going to be One Race is the name of it. I get that information to you, but that's what Freedom March is all about. Again, you can go on Spotify, you can go on iTunes, any digital music, and you just pull up Freedom March, Mr. B and K Note, and you'll be able to listen to the song and the video. If you follow me on Facebook, you can see the video as well. And it's called Freedom March. It's all about uplifting the community and challenging those in the community who are not moving to move in some kind of way.
All right, Brian. Finally, we have to put an end to this great conversation. It's been a pleasure having you with me on Doug in the Morning. Notice that I said Doug in the Morning, not Doug in the Morning. It's because my nickname is Doug. so,
Doug in the morning.
Doug in the Morning, my
I
man.
like that.
So thanks for being with us today on Doug in the Morning. And that will be for another time. It's been a pleasure, my man.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Take care. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just had a little conversation with Brian Ingram. Brian Ingram is an artist, is also an activist, is doing something in the community to help the community move on, do something serious with this community. So there was Brian Ingram with us, ladies and gentlemen. We spoke about the struggle here, the fight against racism in the United States. And I mean, as you may notice, it is something that is happening all over the world. It's not only the United States, you have racism all over the world. And that's why the George Floyd case, has spread all over the world. Everybody is very concerned about this situation. And again, as I did promise to have this interview, and we just had it with Brian Ingram. So stay tuned. Any more information, I will bring it to you in an interview or live with the show, I would say. Doug in the Morning. So let's see if I can find Brian Ingram music, Freedom March. I get Brian Ingram here, Message to Justice. Let's see if I can have it. Freedom March. I'm giving my daughter away. Just bear with me, I'm trying to find it, so bear with me. Yeah, exactly. I have it for you. Let's listen to it. Actually, this is the wrong thing.
Mo brothers over beats. K-No, let's go.
I am Tamir Rice.
Wake up, y'all. It's time for the people to hit the streets. It's about that time. Yeah. We need more woke brothers over beats. K-No, let's go.
All my people come to the river. All my people come be delivered. Learn to do what's right. We're marching in His side. All my people come be delivered.
It's time to free your mind. It's time to break this curse. It's time to get in line. It's time to immerse ourselves in the divine. It's time to rehearse the power in the rhyme, the accuracy of the verse. Encouraging the people to put the neighbor first. Challenging the system to not try to hurt. To the people in the hood, yo, don't do. To that clergy, do good. Share that in your purse. Yo, I'm thinking about Jesus and how He assigned us to lead the walls, disciple people right. Before they get discipled, they gotta change their mind. Be willing to give a dime. Be willing to change the time. Be willing to stand high. Like the eagle, we gon' fly high. We marching like them soldiers in 63-9. Tighten up your ties, sisters right by our side. Freedom.
All my people come to the river. All my people come be delivered. Learn to do what's right. We're marching in His side. Come, my people, come be delivered.
I see you study a lot, degrees on your wall. The enemy got a plot to make the people fall. The system got a shot, won't you answer God call? Have you forgot about Jackie Baseball?
It's music
Left his own
video
lead
clip
trying
là.
to unite us all. That lead needs some help now. I'm trying to tell
Voilà, n'a pas
y'all
obligé
where
faut
my preaching
camper.
to myself cues need a over.
N'a pas camper vidéo clip là, les petits gens ap camper sur nous de temps en temps, donc n'a pas font camper sur vidéo clip là. But you have an idea about the music, what kind of music it is? Freedom March by Brian Ingram, artiste. Monsieur c'est un artiste et cap bon, pas un performeur, but